Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So, still not the best day yesterday. We had a 25 to 1 winner, but I liked a couple more winners, to be honest. Hopefully, we can end day 4 and day 5 with a few winners, just to keep us in profit for the week, which has definitely been quite tricky. So, let's have a look at day 5. We'll start off with the Chesham and the 7 furlong listed race. I think there's one that really stands out here, and I think everyone's seen her. Pearls and Rubies was very impressive and eye-catching at the same time when beating I Am Invictus at Navan on debut. So I Am Invictus had previously finished third to River Tiber, and obviously that form has worked out really well. And then got beat by Pearls and Rubies when looking like I'm Invictus was going to win, and he got run down late on by Pearls and Rubies, who obviously as a filly I thought that was a very good effort anyway, and the form definitely, or the race definitely suggested that 5 was probably definitely as short as she wanted it. Obviously she can't go any shorter, but the step up and trip would definitely suit her, and they go straight up to 7. I think it's interesting. They go up to 7, but they only run in a listed race. I think that's quite clever in that they're not going to come up against the best 2-year-olds, but at the same time, they might just be pushing it with the trip at this stage. Maybe 6 would have been better. If there had been a 6 furlong listed, maybe that would have been better. They're going for this though. I think it's certainly winnable. I mean, even if you look at the other 4 other horses in the race, there's only Golden Mind, Lightning Leo, LaGuardia, Nemonte and Snellen that have actually won. Some of these have never won. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them that have never even won a race. So, it's quite a winnable race. And Pearls and Rubies, I think she will improve for her debut, and I think she'll end up being quite good anyway. And this should be a race that she can take in en route. But she is priced accordingly. We have a look. She is 9 to 4. Yeah, 9 to 4. Moving on to the Jersey Stakes. Why isn't Noble Star running in this? He would have won that. Who do I like in this race instead then? There's a few in it that definitely obviously got chances. Different types of form lines as well. Do you want a horse that has been running well in listed? Do you want a horse that hasn't been quite cutting it at group level? You've got a few of them in like Kwa Shamar, who finished 6th in the Irish 2000 Guineas. She did go off 28 to 1 that day, and she's probably ran to her best sort of thing. And I just wonder whether she's just ran a good race rather than it being that's her true level of form. The horse I do like, and I think she is starting to show her true level of form, is Olivier Marauder for the Ammo Racing Syndicate, who have now broken their Royal Ascot Duck. She's obviously been quite highly tried, Olivia Marauder. She went off 33 to 1 last year in the Group 2, the Queen Mary. But then she went and won a maiden race before finishing 2nd in a Group 2 behind Meditate. That's good form. Then went off 5 to 2 favourite for the Rockfell, another Group 2. And she went off 5 to 2 favourite. That was her disappointing run. I think every other run she's ran perfectly respectable, and perfectly respectable with this race in mind in terms of Group 3. It's not a Group 1, so I think her form is good. Okay, she only finished 7th in the 1000 Guineas. It wasn't a bad run, but I think the ground was against her. She doesn't want soft ground. Look at her form. It's all on that good to firm. And she demonstrated that she'd improved for that return, or certainly come on for the run, when winning a listed race at Epsom, and she won it quite comfortably. She ran away from Holguin that day quite easily. Holguin had done nothing really wrong all season. I think Holguin is now 3 seconds. Yeah, 3 seconds this season, including behind the likes of Angel Bleu, who has obviously gone on to finish a decent 7th in a Group 1. I mean, that's good form. And Olivia Maralda beat Holguin easier than a horse who finished 7th in a Group 1. I think Olivia Maralda will demonstrate that she's probably Group 3, Group 2 by winning this. And she's a better price than I thought she would be. So we've got the unexposed types in Covey and the Antarctic, who's been he's one of those that's been highly tried. I mean, second to Blackbeard and the Judmont, second in a Prix-Morny, a third in a Prix-Morny, sorry. But the trip would be the doubt for the Antarctic, up from 5 to 7. I think they know that the Antarctic is a sprinter, and they're running here because they didn't know what else to run in, rather than the 7 furlongs will suit. Whereas we know it will suit Olivia Maralda. She's been running over 7 and a mile, and I think this is a race that she can certainly go very close in. She's getting well supported now. 8 to 1 is available still, and yeah, she's my selection for the Jersey Stakes. Moving on to the, what have we got next? The QE2. The best British horse will be Highfield Princess. I'm pretty confident of that. I thought she ran a really good race on Tuesday, was it? The 20th, whenever that was. On Tuesday in the King's Stands. Great race. I don't think the hampering affected her. I don't think she was going to beat Bradsell. I think she was going to get really close. And with that in mind, the fact that she was right up there and finishing strongly, I think the 6 furlongs will be absolutely fine. Not an issue at all. There's some nice horses in this race, but I think she's a proper top-class Group 1 horse. The dangers are probably going to be Wellington and Artorias. The thing with Artorias, he's taken on Highfield Princess in the Prix de Maurice de Geest and was behind. He's got to be delivered perfectly. It's a really tricky ride. James McDonald rides, and he likes to come from a long way off the pace and weave his way through. They've got to get it spot on, and I think Highfield Princess might be gone by then, already way too far clear. Or too far clear, not way too far clear, but too far clear. And the Wellington, I don't know a lot about Wellington, but I think his form, whilst it's top class, he can get beaten comfortably, sort of thing. He doesn't always, he's not losing by a neck and half a length. And I just feel that Highfield Princess might already be gone when he starts making his move under Ryan Moore. Is it he? So yeah, I'm going for Highfield Princess to back up her recent effort and go one place better. And she is currently 11 to 2. So she is my selection. Moving on to the 420, and I looked at 3 of these. I think it's out of the 3 towards the head of the market. Hookham, it's got to be Hookham, isn't it? Pile Driver and Free Wind. Now, I'm not sure, this trip is quite right for Free Wind. I think she wants further. And was her form, I know she beat Rogue Millennium, who has franked that form when dropping in trip, but that was winning a fillies Group 2, not a Group 1. And I just wonder whether, even with this extra couple of furlongs, whether Free Wind is going to quite prove she's right at this level against a couple of really, really good colts and Entires, both Entires actually, in Hookham and Pile Driver. Now, Pile Driver, the interesting thing about him, if we look at his returns, as in his seasonal returns, well, he won on debut. That's not a return, but that was his seasonal debut. He won at 50 to 1, which was clearly a bit of a shock to win on his first start. But then we go to 2020, ran in a classic trial, over a mile and a half at Kempton, finished second to Berlin Tango. That's not good enough form. Then we look at the 2021, finished second to Saron Priestley. That's not good enough form. Over a mile and a half, should have been winning that if he was going to be winning on his return. We can then look at, say, March, when running the Dubai Shima Classic after 4 months off. 4th. I know it was a Group 1, it was a top class Group 1. And then second to Huckham 3 months later at Epsom. I just think Piledriver is best after he's had a run. And with that in mind, the fact that he's coming here of 336 days, I think his big target is the King George in a month's time. That's worth £708,000 to win that, and it's a proper Group 1. Whereas I just think this might be a bit of a prep for Piledriver, whereas Huckham is coming here fit, already been impressive when beating Desert Crown and Solid Stone. And yeah, I think Huckham takes all of the beating here. And he is currently 2-1. I think that's a fair price. I think he will beat Free Wind on ability, and I think he'll beat Piledriver on fitness. Let's move on to the 5 o'clock, the Wokingham, and obviously everyone's going to be backing this Orazio, aren't they, at the top of the market. Do you know what? At 13-2, he's not a bad price at all. He could still be ridiculously well ahead of his mark. I know he's up to 102, but his effort at Newmarket has worked out well. His effort at Ascot has worked out really well. So Thomas Gresham was unlucky. The next time, wasn't he beaten? Beaten on the line or beaten late, close out. It's really good form, and Orazio won it comfortably that day. I think Orazio will take all of the beating here, and at 13-2, we'll go sixes because there's only one 13-2. At sixes, I think he is the one to beat. Are there two at prices? I think there are, and I'm actually going to end up with 3 in this race. The 2 at bigger prices that I quite like. King's Lynn at 18s and 16s. So he runs here off 107, and Harry takes a further £3 off. So down to 104. Now, for a horse who's been rated up to 111, I think that's quite eye-catching. This time last year was obviously running in the Group 1, the Jubilee, the Platinum Jubilee. Okay, wasn't fancy, went off 33-1, only beaten 4 lengths. Has continually dropped in a handicap down to this nice mark, and I was worried that finishing second behind Nymphadora, who was also well handicapped at Chester, was going to just see his mark go up a little bit. But it didn't. It left him on 107. Harry Davis taking a very useful £3 off. I think he's well handicapped now. He finished 7th in a Group 1 in 2021. He finished 7th in a Group 1 in 2022. It's not going to take a lot for him to go very close in this race. Drawn in 2, so he'll be over that far side. Nothing wrong with being over the far side. They've been winning over both sides, far side and near side. Just depends on where the pace is. And I think he'll run a really big race, to be honest. I think that £3 from Harry Davis is really, really interesting. And I thought it was also interesting how in the Wokingham in 2021, he finished 3rd off 95 with Ryan booked. Ryan then didn't ride it again until last time out. I think they thought they could win that handicap at Chester. They didn't. They got beat by another Andrew Balding horse, Nymphadora, who was also well handicapped. And I think the fact that they've now booked Harry to take £3 off, I think that's really eye-catching. He's a big price at 18s. The 3rd horse in this race that I'm interested in is First Folio. First Folio actually ran in this race last year and finished a good 6th behind Rohan, not beaten far, 4 lengths off the winner. Now, on that day, you really wanted to be down this near side, and First Folio actually wasn't. He was stuck in the middle near side. So instead of being right on the near side or right in the middle, he was kind of more off the rail. And if you actually watch, say, from about 3 furlongs, the front 5 are all right on this rail, whereas First Folio's 5 or 6 off the rail. And I think that certainly affected his chance of winning. I think if he'd been down on this near side rail, I think he would have finished just as strongly as the others did. Now, he was rated 99 that day, and he returns here off 99. So, he's got to have a chance based on that. But they've also booked Taylor Fisher. And Taylor takes a very useful £5 off. Plus, they've put a visor on. Drawn in 19, so he should be close enough to this rail that he can, move really close to it. I think he can go really close here off an effective 94, so he's effectively running off that £5 lower mark that the jockey takes off. Taylor's a good jockey. Taylor is plenty good enough to win this. It wouldn't be him that is the reason for getting beat. It's his only ride on the day, and I think it's a really clever jockey booking from John Ferguson. So that is first folio at 25 to 1. I think that's a good price about him. So 2 more races to go. There is actually going to be another video for a few other races elsewhere, but this is just going to be the Royal Ascot video. Moving on to the Golden Gate Stakes, it's a handicap that I do like. I love this race, and I think there's generally a horse that is ahead of its mark in this race. The horse that could well be, that I've already highlighted on Twitter yesterday, Have Secret, Saturday, 22 to 1. He's not that anymore. You can see he's 12s and 14s, 11s. Why? So, he come back this season from let me just find out, 227 days off the track, and he went off 10 to 1 for the London Gold Cup. 10 to 1 for the London Gold Cup when the winner was Bertinelli, the second was Bold Act, the third was Exoplanet, and the 8th, the favourite, was Desert Hero. Well, Bertinelli, who won the race, has since finished 3rd in the King George. Bold Act, who was 2nd, has finished 3rd in the Hampton Court, the Group 3. Exoplanet, who was 3rd, has finished 2nd in the Hampton Court. Desert Hero, who went off the favourite for that London Gold Cup, went and won the King George. It's a really good race. It's worked out really, really well. And Have Secret went off 10 to 1, finished 4th, ran well for a long way, not beaten far by any of them. There's been a couple of disappointments from that race. Liber Power, who was way back in 12th, and Forca Tamau. Now, Forca Tamau finished 5th, but he went off 33 to 1 that day. So he wasn't expected to run well at Newbury, and he hasn't run well since. Whilst Liber Power was disappointing at Newbury, finished 12th, and he's disappointed since. And there was no reason for him to disappoint at Newbury. Unlike Desert Hero, who sweated up badly, raced far too keen, and then didn't get the fractions right. I honestly feel that there was 5 from that race to take out. They were Bertinelli, Bold Act, Exoplanet, Have Secret, Desert Hero. 4 of them have run. They've all gone well. I think Have Secret goes really close here. He's my only selection in this race. You can currently get him now at 14 to 1. But hopefully you've been following me on Twitter and you jumped on him when he was 22s. So moving on to the final race of Royal Ascot. Who do I like? So it's very similar type of analysis to what I did on Tuesday for the Queen Alexandra. For the Ascot Stakes. You need to be able to stay this trip, especially that last half mile sort of thing. Now, if you go back and watch their races, I don't think Falconate does. So I crossed him out. I don't think he stays that last little bit. Dawn Rising, I'm not sure will. I kind of feel Dawn Rising reminds me of Wordsworth from last year, who came into the race short price favourite, didn't stay the trip. I mean, Dawn Rising's going up from 1.6 miles to this trip. It's a lot further, and at Ascot, he's going up nearly a mile. I want to take Dawn Rising on because of that. Run for Oscar, I don't know. Now, I know he ran really well in the, obviously winning the Cesarewitch, stayed on really strongly. It was a handicap, possibly was just incredibly well handicapped off 90. Would he have beaten Stratum, who's rated 108? If they ran off levels, probably not. I know they're not running off levels. There's a £3 difference here. Stratum's got a £3 penalty to carry. But that's who I've ended up with, Stratum. I think the 2 horses that will definitely finish and stay this trip are Stratum and the Grand Vizier. But I think Stratum's better than the Grand Vizier. The Grand Vizier finishes his races off well. Stratum finishes his races off even better. And he's the one I want to end up on. He is the favourite. I think he can make it a treble here. Willie Mullins obviously farms these races, doesn't he? Stratham's won it for the last 2 years. The different trainers have sent what they thought were big runners against him. Wordsworth for Aidan O'Brien, only 7th. And a couple of years ago, Dermot Weld ran Falcon 8. I think he finished 8th. You just for me, demonstrating that if you don't get the trip, you can't outstay Stratham. And I think there's a massive doubt against Dawn Rising staying the trip as well. It's Joseph O'Brien, isn't it? Not Willie Mullins. Joseph O'Brien tries this time, and I think he will find another. He will also find that his horse doesn't quite stay as well as Stratham. So they're my selections for Royal Ascot. Final day tomorrow. Starting off with Pearls and Rubies. I think she's class, and I think she'll be too good for these. I think Olivia Meralda will demonstrate that she's better than a Group 3. This trip will suit her. There's a couple of doubts about the trip and the course for a few others. I think Highfield Princess can go one better than Tuesday, winning the 6 furlong Group 1. She was finishing strongly on Tuesday, so there's no reason to think this 6 will be out of her comfort zone. I think Huckham with the fitness will beat Pile Driver. I've got 3 in the Wokingham. I don't like doing too many in handicaps. Orazio could be miles ahead of his handicap still. If he's not, I think 2 that can certainly push him are the well-handicapped First Folio with a £5 claimer and King's Lynn with a £3 claimer. In the 5:35, Have Secret to give that London Gold Cup another form frank. And in the 6:10, ending the Royal Ascot meeting with another winner for Willie Mullins, with Stratham making it 3 wins in this race.